Why don't we set our motivation for our session today. So let's think about why we're here, our intention. I'm sorry if you hear a dog in the background. So, and our intention and our goal is to transform our mind to attain the highest level, right? Highest potential that we can achieve in this life and in all future lives. And then finally, the ultimate goal is to gain that enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, right? So with that attitude, we go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By our virtuous actions of giving and so on, may we become Buddhas for all sentient beings. Right. Okay. So I'm not going to do a meditation to start, but we might do one in the middle, you know, as we see how it progresses. So so this class, this and the first one, this one, and the next one are about how to set up a meditation session and a home altar, right? So by the way, if you guys haven't taken Discovering Buddhism, there's actually a module called Establishing a Daily Practice. And there's a lot more readings in the Lamrim and so forth and so on you know, the basis of this all, right? So you know, if you're interested in this, then I would encourage you to take that class. You know, it's quite useful, and it also introduces you on how to have a practice. You know, like a practice every morning. You know, like a Guru Yoga practice. Usually they use the Shakyamuni Buddha Guru Yoga. So do you guys know what I mean when I say Guru Yoga? Okay, so it's a supplication or a prayer to our deity or to our gurus for blessings and progress, right? Yeah.
Real quick, the Zurich Center, that's going through Discovering Buddhism, and in April, the subject's going to be the daily practice. And
oh,
Venerable
okay.
Venerable Being is leading it.
You mean in the Swiss Center?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah. So and this is more about the mechanics. Right. You know, I'm not going into so much detail about the Lamrim basis of this, although a little bit, but this is more about how to do it and some of the practical advice that, you know, Rinpoche has given us and other teachers have given us. Right. So to recap, then I always like to think about why I'm doing something. Right. So if you think of why it's useful, why the teachers. Hi, Mary Camille. Why the teachers, you know, exhort us actually to not only have a meditation practice, but to make offerings, right? So I was thinking about this, the why, right? And you know, it's really about accumulating merit and purifying obstacles, right? I mean, that's what all these practices are about. If you look at, you know, in the nighttime Vajrasattva practice, that's to purify obstacles, right? Or purify our negative karma that creates obstacles, obviously. And, you know, our generosity and the 6 perfections, you know, the practice of generosity, ethical behavior, patience, and so on. That's all for accumulating merit, right? And the reason we do this is, you know, our ultimate goal is to transform our minds, right? So why do we need to do that? Well, it's because our minds are full of delusion, right? And if you think about that, why are our minds full of delusion? It's because is diluted by the three poisons, right? Attachment, anger, ignorance. And then why is diluted by the three poisons is because we haven't accumulated merit and removed obstacle, right? That's the reason why we are still under the power of the three poisons, right? And we go through the cyclic existence. And the best way to do this, as you probably know, and if not, you will learn, the best way to do this is to make offerings and supplications to our gurus. I mean, you know, if you have studied the, the devotion, guru devotion at all, and you'll know that the guru is the highest field of merit, right? Greater than the Buddhas, greater than Shakyamuni Buddha, greater than the deities, greater than anyone else, living or not. So the guru is the highest field of merit, and any offerings, whether, you know, physical offerings, offerings through service, offerings through our practice, offerings through visualizations, offerings through water bowls, all those things have, you know, it says in the Lam Rim that, you know, that you create merit numberless times the grains of sand in the river Ganges, right? And I've been to the river Ganges. There are a lot of grains of sand. So, so the guru is the highest field of merit. So all these practices at the end involve our guru, you know, even if they don't mention it necessarily. All the Tantra practices are understanding that the deity is inseparable from the guru. You will see that in lots of places, right? And so we are making, whenever we're doing any practice, we're making supplications to our gurus. And that's the best way, the fastest way to create the merit and purify our obscurations, purify our obstacles so that we can gain enlightenment, right? So that's kind of why we do all this, you know, why don't we just sit down and just meditate, right? Why do we do these altars and water bowls and you know, so forth and so on, right? I mean, meditation is good, but to create the causes for our progress, we have to, you know, these are the kind of practices we do. So one of the things that says in the, so now that's kind of the overall idea, right, of why we do things. And, you know, there are many, many benefits, you know, they talk about, you know, and Venerable Dondra probably has gone through this anyway, so I'm not going to go into the benefits of making offerings. But I've jotted down a few notes for myself, you know, to talk about the, you know, the context of practice and meditation, right? Our meditation practice. And whether you do it in the morning, whether you do it in the evening, you know, your main practice, that is, you know, that's up to you. But, you know, the practice, you know, they have some advice for how to set up a practice, right? So first of all, they say that you should have, you know, you should have a place and a time for practice. Your morning. I'm saying morning practice here because I do it in the morning, but, you know, assume that it's whatever it is, evening for you, etc. So, so what you want to do is have a space in your house or, you know, cabin, whatever. And even if it's a closet, even if it's in a corner of a room, it doesn't matter. But a place where you know that that's the place where you do your practice, right? Practice on the cushion, right? Your cushion practice, that's where you do it. And you also, they advise, when I say they, I mean the gurus, they advise that you always have a specific time that you do the practice. Now, it doesn't say the length, it just says time, right? So if you are in a rush, you can do it for 5 minutes. If you're not, you can do it for 30 minutes or whatever time you want, but you always go there at the same time. You start at the same time, right? And they say that whatever place you decide to do, wherever you decide to do it, whether it's in a corner or an elaborate shrine, so forth and so on, you make it lovely, for yourself, certainly, because you want to be able, you want to go there, right? So you choose a space where maybe, if you like to be in the sunlight, or if you like, whatever it is, it's in the sun. Maybe you put some flowers there. Maybe you put some, your favorite, like I have here, your favorite paintings or tankas or statue, whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be, Tibetan iconography necessarily, right? It can be Zen, it can be whatever. But something that really appeals to you, right? That kind of inspires your mind, that when you go there, you feel, your heart feels soft, and, all those things. And this is all, and of course, the other reason to have it be lovely is not just for you, but of course, when you're doing these practices, you're inviting the gurus, the lamas, the Buddhas to come, right? To come be with you. Of course, they're always with us, but, in our practice, we make special supplication for them to come in front of us and with our visualizations. And of course, just like you wouldn't invite a guest into a dirty room, whatever. In the same way, you would want the Buddhas to come and be in a nice place, right? So like that, you want to have a specific place, a specific time, and a place that is well arranged so that you want to be there, right? And that's the kind of the creation, and the practical way, that's the creation of the habit, right? That you will actually do it, And of course, a habit, as you know, is self-perpetuating, right? So it's a virtuous cycle. So that's how it kind of starts, is the place and the time. And the meditation sessions are, when specifically about meditation session that involves creating a space for the teachers and the Buddhas, and having an altar, having offerings, and so forth and so on, is all about serving our spiritual teacher, right? That's the underlying, that's what we're doing, right? Even if we don't think like that, that is what we're doing. And that is what, actually, that we should think like that, because that is what the motivation should be. Because that's how, if we, as I said, if we make prayers to the highest field of merit, we also gain more merit, towards our final goal. So it's about serving the spiritual teacher. And that's the root of the path, as the Lamrim says. The spiritual teacher is, serving the spiritual teacher is the root of the path. And so that's the context in which we're making offerings, right? We're not just making offerings just because our teachers told us, or we're not making offerings just because that's what everybody else does, but we're making offerings to our gurus so that we can be like them. Right? Our hearts can be soft like them. We can be compassionate like them. We can be patient like them. We can bear obstacles like them. We can transform, transform our problems into joy, right? Because the Buddhas go from joy to joy, it says, right? And so certainly Rinpoche does. So that's what we want to be like, and that's why it's important to serve our spiritual teacher, because we get closer to them and to being like them, because they're our models in this earthly world, right? Or on this earth. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So now that's kind of the context, right? Now in the Lamrim, it says a meditation, your practice is divided into two types of sessions. They alternate. So, the Lam Rinpoche talks about what to do during a session and what to do between sessions, right? Now, they're speaking in the context of, monastics doing retreat, right? You do 4 sessions a day, that's the standard practice, right? One before dawn, one before lunch, one before, before tea or around tea time, and one after dinner, right? So, and in between, you of course have time to do various things, right? In the case of monastics or people who were, even lay people who were in isolation or in retreat, they cooked for themselves, they went to the bathroom, they read, they wash their dishes. I mean, whatever else, look for food, like in this case of Milarepa, look for thistles, So there, so there's time in between sessions. For us in our normal life, it depends on what you're doing. If you have a job, your job is between session period. Okay, assuming that, let's say that you bookend your day with a morning practice and with an evening Vajrasattva purification, those can be seen as 2 sessions. And everything in between, the other 12 or 14 hours, whatever it happens to be, is a between session, right? So when we set up altars and do our meditation practice, etc., that is actually just what is supposed to be during the session, right? How one starts a session. There's lots of instruction on what to do in the sessions that are in between. Okay. And I'm not going into that so much, but Rinpoche has a lot to say about that. That's where the real practice is, as he will say, right? Because what we're learning on the cushion is mainly kind of like, it's kind of like the firefighters, doing their practice drills, right? I mean, you basically like, you're not dealing with all the issues of daily life. You have a, space, away from distraction, and in your mind, you're training your mind what to do when the real, as they say, such and such hits the fan, right? And that's the in-between part, right? And so that's when we get to use our practice, and we get to use, practice our patience, practice our ethical behavior, and so forth and so on, right? So the Lam Rim talks about a meditation session and what to, so it actually divides up, it actually has the chapter, the sections on how, your meditation practice has, chapter, it actually has a section on what to do during a session and what to do, in between sessions, right? So this is all during a session, right? So we talked about choosing a place and time, and the kind of place. Also, you want to, as I said, it doesn't have to be elaborate, right? So many years ago, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Venerable Amy telling this story. I can't remember. Somebody told this story about how they had a friend who shared a small flat with some other person, and there was just no privacy, really. He had one room that was his, room, and that was it, essentially, right? And it was a tiny room. This is in Europe somewhere. And what he did was he actually just took one of those, like the shower rods, the circular shower rods, and he basically made a space for himself in the middle of the room, or maybe it was a corner of the room, regardless. And he put the shower, the shower thing, on the ceiling, and he put a curtain around it. And so when he closed the curtain and he went inside, that was his meditation room, right? So it doesn't have to be elaborate. And all of these things are really not about, I don't want to say show, but it's not about, the Buddhas or whatever. It's really about how what appeals to us, right? Because that's what will make us want to do it. So if you're able to find a small space in which you can have a shower curtain and set up a tiny little altar, maybe if you wish, and you like it, that's fine, you know. Or for example, if you don't have much, you know, and you don't have water bowls and you don't have, you know, incense, and you don't have lights, and you don't have tankas and so forth, that's fine too. You can take a small teacup and just put one, you know, just fill it with water, and you can visualize it to be, you know, the skies of offerings, right? Not just 8 water bowls, but skies of offerings. So it's really about our mental, you know, it's not the physical space. It's really the mental space that's key here, right? And so there's a story, for example, of some monk in Tibet, and you know, all he had was his robe. I mean, normally monastics have 2 sets of robes. He was living in a cave. He only had one robe. That was it. And he, you know, he didn't have water bowls. He, you know, all he had was his little bowl that he ate his, you know, I don't know, whatever he ate, barley soup and stuff like that, you know. And so what he would do is that, you know, he would wash it out well. He would fill it with water, and he would make an offering with, you know, in his bowl, right? And then he would, after he was done with the offerings, he would take it down, then eat in his bowl again, and making prayers, you know, and then he would use the bowl again next day to make more offerings, right? So, you know, it's really about our intention, and they make it as, you know, they're really trying to make it as easy as possible for us. I mean, that's really all that it comes down to, you know. It's really I mean, they're doing everything they can to make it as easy for us as possible so that we will do something, right? And from my side, I can say this, I don't know about you, and I still am lazy, and I still don't do half the, you know, whatever, you know, it's just, yeah. That's why I'm still in samsara, right? I mean, that's why all of us are still in samsara. Okay. So then that's the kind of the context. Now to how to start a meditation session, right? Now, I don't know if you've heard of, well, let me see. Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard about the 6 preliminary practices. Have you ever heard about the 6 preliminary practices? It's okay if you haven't. But anyway, if I'm repeating something you already know, let me know, right? So these are the 6 preliminary practices preliminary to the main session, right? So let's assume for the moment that, you know, you are your practice, like for me, for example, Rinpoche has given me certain practices I have to do. One of them being, you know, continually studying the Lam Rim, right? So what I'll, you know, if I'm doing certain chapters in Lam Rim and that's my main practice, let's say that morning, then I will do the 6 preliminary practices before my main Lam Rim analytical meditation practice, right? And that's how, and usually depending on the, you know, what I'm going to be doing, focusing on in the meditation session, I will change how I do those 6 preliminary practices. So for example, you know, if your guru has advised you to do, you know, make, you know, to meditate on the you know, with the Buddha as the visualization, let's say, right? So you might do the Shakyamuni Buddha Guru Yoga, right? Which has the, you know, as I said, all these Guru Yogas have all the same formula, right? So it has the 6 preliminary practices in there. If I'm studying the Lam Rim, for example, I will use Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, because that's traditionally Lama Tsongkhapa he's the guru who is said to, that making prayers to him is the quickest way to, generate Lamrim realizations, right? So I will do the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga practice, which also has the 6 preliminary practices built into it, right? And so there are places that you can then stick in your other practices, right? Your Lamrim practice, maybe you have deity visualizations, you have whatever. And so there's all these kind of like, Guru Yoga practices where, they all kind of are similar in the beginning, with the, preliminary practice and all this stuff. And then, you do your Lamrim meditation, deity, whatever you're doing, whatever your teacher has advised you. And then you finish by absorbing the merit field. And I'll go into that, absorbing the merit field and making dedications, and you're done, right? So that's kind of how to structure, that's why I'll talk about the Guru, I'll use the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga as kind of a framework for how to structure it. You can use any Guru Yoga, whatever you like, maybe, the Tara, prayers, not prayers, but the Tara puja, the Chittamani Tara prayer practice that we do, that also has this experiment. So whatever deity you have, you can build your meditation practice within that Guru Yoga of that deity or Lama Tsongkhapa or Shakyamuni Buddha or whoever else, right? Did that make sense? So now I'll talk about the 6 preliminary practices specifically, right? And as I said, they're common to, at least as far as I know, all the practices I've seen, Okay, so the first one is to clean the meditation room and arrange the altar. Okay, so that's the first preliminary practice. The second one is arranging, and we'll go into this, but I'm just mentioning them all so that you have an idea about where we're going. So the second one is arranging faultless offerings, and we'll talk about what faultless means. Third one is that's where you sit on a comfortable seat, take the Vairocana posture and so forth, and generate the merit field and a mind of refuge and so forth and so on, right? So now you've sat down, and then you invoke and you visualize the merit field, right? So that's number 4. Number 5, you perform the 7 limb practice and the mandala offering, if you so choose. And we'll go into the 7 limbs. And then number 6, attitude of supplication to ask for blessing. There's just a specific prayer usually at the end. And those are the 6 preliminary practices, right? And in there, and so then you do your, you do your whatever practice you want to do, Lamrim or mindfulness meditation or prayers, whatever else you want to do. And then you withdraw the merit field and you dedicate, right? So that's kind of the structure of most practices that you'll see in our tradition, okay? Does that mean you have to do all of them every single day? The answer is no, right? Because you may not have time, to do all of them every single day, in which case you shorten it, right? And there are ways to shorten it, and we can talk about that as well. But it's good to know what the whole thing is, because then you know how to shorten it, right? Which bits to concentrate on. And as you gain more experience with these practices, you will know on certain days you feel like shortening certain things, and other days you feel like shortening something else, because you kind of know where your mind is that day and what would be most beneficial. Or sometimes something will inspire you, and you spend extra time on, let's say, rejoicing. And you spend so much time rejoicing, you don't have much time for dedication. So you shorten it, whatever it is, right? So that's the kind of, so you gain experience with that. But in the beginning, if you don't have the experience in knowing what to shorten and so forth and so on, it's okay. You do what you can. That's the most important thing. You do something consistently, even if it's for a very short period, but do it consistently. And then over time, it will build on itself. The other thing I wanted to mention is this is also practical advice that I think it's in the Lam Rim. Practical advice that teachers tell us is that they say, not to tackle too much in the beginning, right? So how long should a meditation practice be? So that's a very common question. Yes, Shayla? You're still on mute, I think.
Sorry, I was saying 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, 5 minutes. If that's fine. If you can make it a productive 5 minutes, 5 minutes is fine. There are some days I do actually only do 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes. Minimum commitments that I have, if I want to keep them, takes me 10 minutes. So yeah, that's 10 minutes, And that's if I rattle through them. I have them memorized, so I can just rattle through them without any visualization, without any nothing. I'm just mouthing the words. I feel like, it's barely doing it really, but that's just me. But if you have a productive 5 minutes, that's perfect. But what they say is, it's short. So what you do is in the beginning, you take very short sessions. And if you're able to do, not by many, I mean like multiple of them, right? So let's say, your mind is always distracted. You're not able to keep it on the object and so forth and so on. You do your meditation, you do your practice for 3 minutes. I'm talking about, after you've done all the preliminary practice and all this other stuff. If you have time and you've done all these things, then when you're actually doing the meditation, on Lam Rim or on the deity or whatever, they say to beginning to keep it short, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Then you take a break. You do it again, another 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Take a break, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Take a break, and so forth and so on. Right. So this says short and many. Right. As you get better, as your mind gets less distracted, as you are feeling more inspired, so forth and so on, as you have gotten into the practice, then they say to longer and fewer. So longer, each session becomes longer. I don't mean each session, each little segment between taking a break becomes longer. So maybe you make it 10 minutes, right? And you take a break of, let's say, whatever you want to do, 5 minutes. And then you do another 10 minutes and 5 minutes, like that, right? Or you just do one, however much time you have. Assuming that you have an hour, then you would do 10 and 5, 10 and 5, 10 and 5, let's say, 3 or 4 times, right? So, but in the beginning, you would do 2 and 5, 2 and 5, 2 and 5, like that for however, or 2 and 2, whatever it is, however long you can make it. So in the beginning, it's good to do short and many, and later on, you make it longer and fewer, right? And the reason they say this is because you want to have a good practice, right? You don't want to take on 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the beginning and get frustrated and never want to do it again. It's not, it's not for me. I'm no good at it. My mind, blah, 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 all that stuff that comes up, right? Or the self-defeating talk that comes up, right? So that's why, it's good to do it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes in the beginning, because it's a chunk that you have taken on, or whatever it is, 30 seconds. If you really can't do 2 minutes, take 30 seconds. That's fine. But whatever works for you, it's good to take small chunks, because then you will feel some sense of accomplishment and you will actually feel encouraged to do it next time, right? So that's one thing, is how long to make it, right? How long, so that your session would be however long, depending on how many of these little segments you do. The other thing they also say is how to know when to end, right? You can do like 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes ad infinitum, right? Well, you want to do it, you want to stop when you're still actually doing well. You want to stop when the meditation is going well. And you'll know when, you don't want to wait till it's kind of starting to fall apart, right? Starting to feel because that's when the frustration comes and you're like, oh, I'm going to make an extra push, right? And extra pushes, your mind is, when you make an extra push, your mind isn't relaxed, number one, because your mind is tense because it's trying to push. And because of the tenseness or tension, your meditation session is going to degenerate. Okay. So what they say is it's better to stop when you're ahead. And again, because you're not going to have frustration, you're going to want to do it again, right? If you if you had you ended with a good positive note, you will have a good feeling about it. So the next day when you sit down, you will also do it on a positive note, right? So that's how you know when to end, right? And, and this is, a lot of this stuff is, as you gain experience, you'll know what you can or cannot do. And then, the rules these are not really rules. These are just guidance, right? And then you know when to break. There are lots of rules, that are meant to be, they're rules really that are for us in the beginning to help us to stay on the path. And then once we've been on the path for a while, we know what we can or cannot do, what is good for us, what is not good for us. And so, but yourself, you become your own guru, and you can take whichever direction you want to go. This is only really at the beginning stages when we're, and I'm still in the beginning stages, when, when we need help, right? Any questions about the length and so forth and so on of meditation sessions? Okay. Okay. So before we get into the 6 preliminary practices, I'll show you what I mean by the way, all of you are familiar with Guru Yoga practice. Is that true or no? Yeah. Okay. So for example, if we take, I got to share the screen, don't I? So here's, for example, is the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga practice, right? And this is a very famous practice. Everybody in our tradition has done it at some point or other. By the way, I asked Geshe-la on behalf of the Swiss Center, I think, to teach on this practice. It's my standard practice anyway, so I'm always happy to get guidance on this practice. But the Swiss Center also wanted to have Geshe. So we made a request to Geshe-la to teach on this practice, and I think he said he's going to do it after he comes back from Nepal. So that'll be, sometime in May or June or whenever that comes out to be, right? So stay tuned on that. Okay. So all of them, of course, start with, long or short version, but either way, the Refuge and Bodhichitta prayer, right? And there you have the 4 immeasurables. Not all of them have the 4 immeasurables, but this one does, to kind of set our mind. And then generate the special bodhicitta attitude, right? That we're doing it for the sake of all beings. And then you will have a section on purifying the place, right? Because you want, remember, so the purifying the place and is basically about making remember the Buddhas and the Gurus are not, they're in a pure land, right? I mean, so when we are off making a space for them to come, we are essentially, it's not just the worldly physical space. What we're talking about here is transforming that place into, kind of a rainbow world, if you will, right? the world that Buddhas reside in, I guess, you know. So that's kind of what this purifying the place, you know, it's basically visualizing the place as a, you know, as a pure land, essentially, right? So most of them will have that. And then you basically do and this is, you don't have to do this, but in shortened versions of this don't have this necessarily, but, you know, a lot of them, you will see them do this, you know, do this mantra, the offering cloud mantra below, and then this verse to basically, you know, multiply the offerings, you know, sky, you know, so that your 8 water bowls become skies of offerings, right? And you've seen this mantra probably in various places already, the offering cloud mantra. And then the actual, you know, the Guru Yoga section starts. And this is the 7 limb, so this is by this time, you know, you've already cleaned the meditation room, you've arranged the faultless offerings, you've sat on your comfortable seat and taken the Vairocana posture. And now you're invoking and visualizing the merit field, and you're going to do the 7 limb practice. So I'm just going through this really fast because I just want to tell you how this kind of fits in, right? So you've done 4 of the 6 preliminary practices. Now this is the 5th. This whole thing is basically kind of the 5th and the 6th, right? So this is basically the 7 limb prayer, you know, the 7 limb practice, you know, the requesting a strong light, prostrations, confessing, offerings, rejoicing, requesting that they continue to be with us, dedication, right? And then you make a mandala offering, and then you do your visualization. And now this section, this visualization and the line, these are specific to each Guru Yoga, right? So Tara, for example, will have a different one. You know, Shakyamuni Buddha will have a different one. For Lama Tsongkhapa specifically, we do the 9-line prayer. Then we do the 5-line Miksema, the Migmesema, the certain things that, you know that one. And then, you know, then there's specific things for Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, right? And then you do all that. And then you make these requests, which is kind of like, you know, making supplication to good, you know, the attitude of supplication to ask for blessings, right? That's a 6th preliminary practice. And then you're essentially done. You know, this is all kind of like, you know, basically setting the mind for the end. Then you withdraw the merit field, which is the Guru entering your heart, you know, coming to the crown of your head and going down through your central channel, or however you do the visualization. And then you finally do the final dedication and long life prayers, right? So that's kind of how all of these, you know, these are the 6 preliminary practices. That is the context in which we make you know, why am I going through all this just to talk about altar and offerings, right? Well, because we're not just doing altar and offerings. It fits into really this very important set of steps, which is what, you know, which really helps transform our minds, right? It really does. You know, I mean, if I know for myself that if I just do, you know, if I just start, you know, like just doing you know, and I've done this on the very days that I really don't have any time, and I have skipped a whole bunch of the stuff, and I just do the visualization and the 9-line prayer to the basic minimum, I know that my mind is not in the same state as when I've done all the other things, right? All the other preliminary practices, right? So they really do make you know, change the way our mind, you know, the ground, I guess, of our mind. You know, it's just more fertile. You know, there's more rain, and then there's more sun, and so forth and so on, for the shoots to sprout, right? Or seeds to sprout. So like that. So that's why we have all these different steps. Okay. So now let's talk about, before we start, you know, so let's say that you've gone and back to the beginning. So now you've started, you're about to start on this practice. I'm just giving this as an example, right? You're about to start this practice. But before you do your Refuge and Bodhichitta prayer, you know, we clean our meditation room and the altar, right? If we have one. And we arrange our faultless offerings. and then we sit down, right? Those are the three things we need to do. So let's talk about cleaning the meditation. Did Venerable Donder talk about this last time? Cleaning the meditation room and okay. And the altar. Okay, so by the way, where to have your altar, like that's also guidance that, so they say, now this is not written in stone, but the guidance is that you should find a place for your, if you want to have an altar that is not in your bedroom. Okay, now, you know, this altar is in my bedroom, right? So I've already broken that rule. But there you can, the reason they have the guidance is, and I have it here because this is the best, you know, this is what I've come to understand. I have other places I can put it, and I have done it, put them there, but it just didn't work. You know, work in the sense like the mind, you know, I mean, as I said, with experience, you understand what works and what doesn't. So this was the best place for me. So I left it here, you know. But the reason they say not to have it in your bedroom is, well, a bedroom tends to get messy, number one. And do you really want an altar to be in a room that tends to get messy? You know, a bedroom is, you know, you're also, you know, maybe doing things that you don't want the Buddhas to see. I don't know. So those are reasons that, you know, so, you know, they're kind of like that. You know, it's kind of like you want to have a place where, you know, like, would you invite your guests to be in your bedroom? Probably not, right? There's a reason for that, right? I mean, now if your bedroom is the only room you have, that's a different issue, right? But if you actually have a living room, you wouldn't invite your guests into your bedroom, right? So the same kind of way to think about it. Also, the bedroom, I think for some people, not for me, but for some people, you know, it just feels too, I don't know what the word is, too ordinary. I don't know. It's like ordinary, you know, like it's you know, because when you're doing these practices of the meditation, you want to be in a different level, right? You want to transcend beyond the ordinary, and the bedroom is just so ordinary, right? And you do all your ordinary activities in your bedroom, right? I mean, you change your clothes, you put on, you know, you put on your pajama, all this other, you know, that, you know what I mean. So, you know, so it's up to you. But they suggest not to have it in your bedroom. And of course, monks and nuns, they only have one room, so, you know, they don't have much of a choice. Okay, so cleaning the meditation room and cleaning the altar. So the first thing that, you know, so let's say you get up in the morning and you've had your coffee and you're kind of somewhat awake and you're going to start your practice. So the first thing you would do is kind of look around and, you know, tidy up. And for most of us living in the West and living here, you know, our house doesn't get really dusty. I mean, in India, where all this was set up, you know, designed for originally, I mean, it's just constantly, it's just like, there's just no way to get away from the dust. And so, you know, you would dust your room, and, you know, you normally have a little, you know, the long, you know, the sweeping, whatever you call it, so you would sweep your floor and so forth and so on, right? But it's not just the physical activity, and this is important to remember, is that whenever we are cleaning, and this is, if you were, you know, I was doing some living in the path, some of the living, I don't know if you guys were there or not, but in last month, I was doing some of the sessions of the Living in the Path series. And there, Rinpoche talked about how to make every activity a virtuous activity. And so one of the things you, like, for example, when you're washing dishes and so forth and so on, one can think that I'm not washing the dishes just like because it's just what I need to do. I mean, it is what I need to do. They're not going to clean by themselves, but they don't need to be an ordinary activity. It can be made into a transcendent activity that is actually benefiting me or benefiting us, and in and as with that, benefiting others, right? So when you're washing dishes, you can think that with every every wipe of the sponge or whatever, I'm wiping away my ignorance, wiping away the dirt, wiping in my mind, wiping, the soap is kind of the nectar, not the nectar, but the blessings of the Buddha. With that, I'm purifying all my obscurate. I mean, there's so many things one can do, just a visualization, right? You can do whatever you want. But the idea is that you can change that activity into a virtuous activity. And Rinpoche has ways, and Rinpoche didn't make this up. This is actually, he elaborated on a text from the 7th century, I think, at this one retreat I was at. And that's where all this came from. And, he has given guidance on how to make, how to go to the toilet, number one, number two, you can make it into a virtuous activity. Those are things all of us does, right? Or each of us does. And so why have it be an ordinary thing, right? Make every moment count, right? And so in that vein, when we are cleaning the meditation room, we're not just cleaning the room, we're cleaning our minds as well, right? So the way to think about it is that, with each wipe of the brush or each wipe of the sweeping thing, each little piece of dirt, dust, maybe, that I remove, and so forth and so on. It's actually, it's a way to purify our mind. And that's how we have to think about it, right? That's what they suggest how we think about it. So, and, do you guys know the story of the Mahapindika, the boy of the big road and the small road? Did you guys hear about that? Do you know about that? There's a story. Okay, well, I'll tell you the story. So, this is a story from the days of the Buddha, actually. So there was this poor family in a village somewhere in India, well, near where the Buddha was, actually, and so they had been longing for, obviously being in India, you long for a son. And so you were longing for a son, and, and finally a son came. And so they told the nurse or the servant that they wrapped the son in this, white cloth and so forth and so on, and said, why don't you go to the, the major crossroads of the village, right? Where the carts go by and all that stuff. And, find a holy man to bless the son, right? So the woman takes the boy to the road, and first, anyway, long story, but it turns out the Buddha comes by, and he blesses the son, right? And it was, and the son grows up to be this great monk, and in the Buddha's one of the Buddha's disciples, and so forth and so on. Now, a couple of years later, another son was born, and this time around they did the same thing: wrapped the baby up in the white cloth, and told this time there was a different girl, and so told the girl to go stand on the road for the son to be blessed. But this one was a lazy girl, and she didn't feel like going all the way to the big road where where all the holy men are going to come by. She just decided to just do the basic minimum, and she went to some small lane somewhere, and she stood there, and nobody really came, and so maybe there was some guy who came by, holy man or something, and he blessed, and so forth and so on. But in any case, the first son. So the first son became known as the Mahapantaka. So the boy of the big road. Maha, big, Pantaka means road. So big road, right? And then the later son was known as the Chota Pantaka, which is small road, the boy of the small road, right? So those are the two guys. Now they grow up, and the bigger boy He becomes, becomes a disciple of the Buddha. He's brilliant, and he can memorize things really quickly. He's just smart. He can make, he's just very, very bright, right? So he's making progress really fast. And then there's his other son, which didn't really get blessed by somebody very famous or holy, I guess. So he's kind of a dunderhead, right? He can't, he tries to, if he tries to, it actually says in there, if he tries to recite the refuge prayer, by the time he gets to the end of the first line, he's forgotten what the beginning of the first line was, like that. He just has no clue about anything, right? And so, so they're like, what are we going to do with this guy? Everybody's like, okay, throw this guy out, because he doesn't belong here. And he really wants to be with his big brother, and he wants to be like his big brother, right? So the Buddha really kind of felt sorry, much, compassion towards him. And he said, okay, why don't we make him the sweeper of the temple or the, the ashram, the place where they were staying. And so Buddha told him that his job was to basically go and sweep, the beginning of the day before the monks start their prayers and so forth and so on, to sweep not the gompa, but the meditation hall, right? So sweep the place, and told him that every time he sweeps, he says, with this wipe, I clear away the dirt, I clear away the clear away the dirt, clear away the dust, and in my mind, right? So, and in the beginning, he couldn't even do that, right? So he kind of he would think of clearing the dirt, and then he would forget it, would clear with the dust, but he persevered, right? He kept doing it for months and months and maybe even years, I don't know. But he, kept sweeping, And so over time, he figured out, this sweeping isn't just about the physical, the sweeping of the dirt. It's actually doing about my mind, right? So over time, he actually was able to, because of his sweeping and because of the mental exercise of doing the visualization, clearing with the dirt and so forth and so on, he purified whatever obstacles that he had that he couldn't, he was a dunderhead, right? I mean, that was a major obstacle, right? And so he was able to overcome that obstacle, right? So he was able to understand the text, memorize the text, and so forth and so on. And then the story goes on to how he taught some nuns and so forth and so on. And I won't go into all that. But so that's kind of where some of this comes from, right? This wasn't, I mean, you knew what this was. This story was not there wasn't going to be a surprise ending. But that's kind of, they always relate the story. The lamas relate that story when they're talking about cleaning the meditation room and the altar, right? And so the altar is similarly the same thing with the altar. You make sure that there's no dust and, dust on the statues and dust on the pictures, so I'll go every morning. I don't clean my room because the room doesn't get that dirty unless the dogs have been in here a lot. And so, so I'll just do my altar. Now, so that's, so I'll remove and I'll arrange them really nicely, and we'll talk in the next section is about arranging faultless offerings and arranging the altar. So I'll talk about how you arrange an altar. But that's kind of the first preliminary practice, cleaning the meditation room and the meditative altar, right? Make sense? Any questions? Okay. All right. That wasn't rocket science. All right. Now, so now what goes in an altar? Okay. Well, the short answer is whatever inspires you. Okay. So if just one little vase with some flowers is inspiring, and I know someone like that, that's all they have on their altar, right? That's all they need. They don't necessarily need all these. I need these pictures. That's why I have them. But if you're one who doesn't need these pictures, but you can find something else that inspires you, you can use that on your altar. That's the Western view. That's what Western teachers have told me and so forth. The traditional altar, of course, is specific. There's specific guidance on what goes in altar. So first of all, what will go on your altar is certainly, well, there are three things that you will always see an altar. So actually I have them arranged and they're supposed to be arranged in a specific way. I can't do it from here. Okay. Anyway, so I'll move aside. So you'll see, I don't know if you can see or not. So there's the, like I have a statue, I have some pictures of, Rinpoche and my, Chöden Rinpoche and, my gurus, right? So you can have pictures of your gurus. You can have statues of your deities that you feel close to, right? And then what you'll have is two other things. You will have a text on the left. So the statues and the pictures symbolize the Buddha's body. Okay. The text symbolizes the Buddha's speech. Okay. And then you have a stupa. In my case, I just have this little kind of, I don't know if you can see, I don't know where I got it from, but you can even have Rinpoche says, if you don't have a stupa, you can put a picture of a stupa. It doesn't have to be like an elaborate stupa. And so you have a stupa on the right, and I don't remember why it's always, as you're facing the altar, why it's always on your right, and the text is always on your left. Okay. So body, speech, and mind. Okay. So that's how an altar, and you'll see, like if you go to TNL, once the center is open, or any center you go to, if you look at that altar, I mean, it might be really long and really elaborate, but you'll always see, they will have this kind of arrangement, at least in a Tibetan, in a Gelugpa Tibetan Buddhist tradition, right? I don't know about other Tibetan Buddhist traditions. Now, what is a text, right? Like I have, I have a text by Lama Tsongkhapa here, but you can put any text. Rinpoche use the golden, I think he said the Sutra of Golden Light is what he recommends to use as a text. But you can use any text, Lamrim text, any other text by Lama Tsongkhapa or Shakyamuni Buddha, and you always you don't just stick it on there. You try to wrap it nicely or make it pretty. I mean, it's a thing of reverence, right? And so that's so it's something that you treat with reverence. You of course by the way, can you see? Is it too small? Oh, I can put it on spotlight, I guess, or whatever it is. Or maybe you can do it too, right? You can.
If you stop sharing, then
yeah, that's true.
Make it bigger.
Stop share. Okay, and then I can. Okay, there we go. Okay, is that better? Does that work? Yeah. Okay. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's a text. And now normally, and I haven't done this just because I've been lazy, but it's recommended that if you have I have a little statue of Lama Tsongkhapa here, right? Because I do a Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga almost every morning. So, and I have Lama Tsongkhapa's, tankas and stuff too. But so they suggest that if you have some kind of statue like Ma Manjushu statue or Lama Tsongkhapa statue or the stupa, that one puts it wraps a kata around the bottom, like again as a symbol, as a thing of to show reverence, just like you would offer a kata to a visiting lama or a teacher or your guru. So you kind of do I have a kata here somewhere? Not a white one. Okay, but in any case, you wrap a kata in the bottom, and that's how and the statues, right? The picture, you have lots. You can put katas in the bottom of the pictures too, but it's up to you, right? But the statues and the stupa, they suggest that. And you make it, this I like this, I kind of like a traditional, coming from India, growing up Hindu, I like the whole traditional thing. So this kind of, so I have a traditional, shrine or altar for, for me, right? But if you don't have to use Tibetan, whatever, those, these brocade kind of things and all that stuff. You can use whatever you like. It's, again, whatever appeals to you, right? The other thing is, I have a picture, I have a picture of Buddha, as you can see, right? And my main deities, left and right. But in general, they said to the way that you position the statues or the pictures is also a particular order. There's a hierarchy. Now, normally, you have a picture of Buddha, let's say, or your deity in the middle. Your guru, however, goes above. Okay. In my case, I've been thinking about putting the Rinpoche. I don't have much space. I would have to hang it from the top. But in any case, you would put, your guru, whoever that happens to be, you would put your guru's picture above the deity or above your, in my case, Shakyamuni Buddha here, right? And I haven't done it just because it's a little hard to place it up there, but I need to do it, If I'm going to teach this class, then I need to follow the, the whatever I'm saying, right? So anyway, yeah. But however, I do follow the other rules, which is that you will notice that my main gurus are at the top, and then other gurus who are also equivalent to my, like Chöden Rinpoche is no less than Lama Zopa Rinpoche, but Lama Zopa Rinpoche is who gives me guidance in this life and so forth and so on. And Venerable Rene is one of my main gurus, but because Rinpoche has there's specific reasons, but I consider Rinpoche to be, have helped me in certain ways. And so I have his pick, so whoever you kind of have to, your main guru kind of, goes above, and then the other gurus go below, right? However many gurus you may happen to have. Let's see. There was something I was going to mention. You can order them in any way you like. I mean, it's no big deal, other than that little rule. And what I was going to say, and the reason, can you guess the reason why your guru goes on top? Okay, go ahead, Lewis.
Because your guru is greater than all the Buddhas.
Right. So the guru is the highest sphere of the mirror. The guru is more kind, as you read in the Lamrim, the guru is kinder than all the Buddhas. The guru is, the guru is the one who will lead us, and there are many reasons. You can do the analytical meditation on guru, in guru devotion. There are all these points, why the guru is in a higher field of merit. So yeah, so that's why the guru goes on top, right? Okay. Now, so that's the kind of how the altar is normally set up, right? Now, to arrange the faultless offerings. So what are the offerings, right? So I have, 7 water bowls here. You make 8 offerings, right? So the offerings are, I can never remember the order. I only remember them in Sanskrit. Argam, so water for washing your feet, washing the Buddha's feet, guru's feet, whoever the deity, whoever you're inviting to be here, right? And these come from old India when, if you invited a king or a prince to come to your house, these are the kinds of offerings you would make, right? As they enter the house, their feet are usually dusty because they've been wearing sandals and so forth and so on. So you offer water to clean their feet. So it's water for drinking is what you offer first. Argam is water for drinking. So you give them water because they're probably thirsty after like a hot day of riding on the horse or whatever they're riding on. So water for drinking, water to wash their feet, Argam Padyam Pushpe. So that's flowers. You offer them flowers, right? Like nowadays, like if you go to Hawaii, they give you a garland, right? So like that, it's kind of similar, So you offer flowers. You offer incense, right? okay. Offer light. So in other words, well, I don't know if I can find an analogy in the West. In India, if you go to a Hindu temple, you'll see them offering like a clay thing with a little wick and an oil, and so that's offering a light. But it's kind of symbol. I think of it as kind of symbol. It's like the turning on a switch to remove your darkness of our mind and so forth and so on, right? So that's kind of how I think of it. But in any case, you offer light, a candle, and then you offer. We already talked about the incense. Offer light, gande. Oh, offer
perfume,
scent, or nice, so you, like rubbing oil, back then you might, use some scented oils and so forth and so on. So, and then finally food, and then finally music, right? So for entertainment, right? So those are so I have here, so those are the 8 offerings, right? So you can offer 8 water bowls. In my case, I have 7 water bowls, and then I offer the incense in an incense holder thing specifically, right? So I will have, 7 water bowls plus the incense. You can decide to have 6 water bowls, have an incense, and have a light, like an LED light that's really nice looking, or some people have strings of LED lights and that flash and all kinds of stuff. Whatever appeals to you, I mean, if it brings you joy, it most likely brings the Buddha's joy as well, So, and remember, the Buddhas aren't, looking at it, what they say, right? The Buddhas, they go from joy to joy, right? So even if you give them probably I don't know, something smelly, rotten apple, they don't see it as a rotten apple. They see it because of their mental virtue. They see it as, something pleasant and so forth and so on, right? They don't see they don't have the ignorance and et cetera that makes, brings up, aversion, right? That's what, opposite of attachment, right? That's why we have aversion to rotten apple, right? They don't have aversion. So the rotten apple is not any better or worse than nectar, right? So it's equivalent. So in any case, you can offer light. So you can offer, and if you want to offer food, you can offer food as well. And you don't have to, so that's fine. So however you want to do it, you can offer all the physical things if you wish, instead of offering water bowls, right? Nobody's making you offer water bowls necessarily, although that is the standard Tibetan way, because I think Atisha, because the Tibetans, there wasn't much in Tibet, right? I mean, there's not much food, and there's not much, flour and so forth and so on. So Atisha said, well, there's plenty of water, and it's all pure and wonderful and tastes great and less filling as well, and all that stuff. So why don't you offer water? So that's how the water bowl offering came into being, in Tibetan tradition. So those are the 8 offerings. Now, so let's say that you have now cleaned the room, cleaned the altar, and you want to make offerings, right? Now, first thing it says is, it doesn't say arrange offering, it says arrange faultless offerings. So the reason it says faultless is because make sure, if you're giving water bowl offerings, this is probably not an issue, but if you're giving flowers or whatever it is, that it's been obtained ethically. Right. So in other words, and there are a lot of rules about monastics, how they obtain stuff, right? Like not necessarily stealing, but remember, in the 10 non-virtuous actions, it doesn't say stealing. It actually says taking something that is not freely given. That's actually what it says, right? It doesn't say, you say stealing, but it just says taking something that's not freely given. So it's not, stealing is one way of taking something that's not freely given. There are many other ways. So for example, with oh God, that's one long word I was going to use today, and that went away. Obsequiousness, like for example, you're like, oh, how you're so wonderful, and hoping, you're kind of like, you know, being really nice to them so they give you something, right? And that, you know, you don't want to offer that, right? Or, you know, oh, this is such a wonderful thing. I wish I had this, something like this, you know, and you'd say things like that to make them feel bad and give it to you, right? So that's, again, a faulty offering, right? So you want to give something that's taken, you know, like obtained faultlessly, right? So that's faultless offerings. Now, how do you make the water? In this case, we're talking about water bowl offerings specifically. So how do you make water bowl offerings? So first, what you do is, and I think we will, after I talk about this, I will finish for today. So first of all, what you do, you know, so I have like, so first of all, when, you know, when do you give water bowls and when do you pick them up, right? So it depends on how you like to do it. The main guidance that's given traditionally is that you make the offerings, the water bowl offerings, and then when you're done, or at some point during the day, you remove them, right? You take them, and then and the way you dispose of them is, you know, I would take it and put it in. I have a jug here, you can't see, but you know, I will pour them into a jug, and then I will take it outside and pour it on a plant. You don't just dump the water somewhere. Certainly not in the drain and so forth and so on. You go and put it in a plant or on a plant or something that, you know, that the water can benefit, right? You can drink it if you wish, I guess, but normally, you know, they say to put it on a plant. So, however, you don't leave it out. Look at the standard guidance is you don't leave it out overnight, like as if it's like you forgot about it and you just kind of like, you know, I'll just leave it there because I don't feel like picking it up, right? You don't want to do that, right? You want to, you know, you're offering it to the Buddhas out of supplication, out of respect, out of devotion, and so forth and so on. You also want to treat the offerings well, right? So you don't want to just leave them unattended and just gather dust and so forth, you know, et cetera. So, you know, a lot of people, what they will do is they will make the offerings, and once they're done, or maybe in the middle of the day, they will pick them, you know, take them out, you know, pick them up, right? Now, in the FPMT, as you know, Rinpoche, forget the FPMT, the Rinpoche generally, you know, he uses his students' offerings and the center's offerings, and he dedicates them as part of his practice, right? So, and he asks us to do it as well. So I'll talk about that when the seven limb bit comes. But when you're making offerings to the Buddhas and to the Guru, you mentally visualize all the water bowls and all the students, you know, all my fellow students' houses or altars, and all the lights in all the centers, and all the, you know, the food and the incense and everything, and you know, all the lights and candles that are in all the Rinpoche's houses and all the offerings, you offer all of that, right? Again, you're trying to create skies of offerings, right? So Rinpoche does exactly that. And of course, Rinpoche, who never sleeps, he just makes his offerings whenever he feels like it or whenever he has time. And usually that's like in the middle of the night, you know, like you don't know when it's going to be, right? He sometimes does it at 4 a.m. So you don't know where he is. So basically in the FPMT, like a lot of people, and I didn't used to do this, but now I do it. You leave the offerings overnight with the intention, not because you just left it there because you didn't feel like picking it up, with the intention that it will enable Rinpoche to make that offering to his teachers and his gurus and the Buddhas, right? So a lot of centers and a lot of students will leave the offerings out overnight, okay? And Rinpoche has said it's okay, so that's why we do it, right? But that is against, you know, if you read the Lam Rim, it will say don't leave it out overnight, right? But, you know, again, all rules, nothing is a strict rule, right? Okay, so you decide how you want to do it, but you pick it up after you're done, or you pick it up the next day, before you clean the room and so forth and so on before your next meditation session, right? So you would pick it up then, and then you would clean the altar and so forth and so on. And now you're back to, again, having the water bowl offering sitting stacked up like this, after you dispose of the water. And now you're getting ready to make the offerings, right? So the guidance is that first you take each bowl and you have like a little something to wipe it with, and you kind of just wipe the dirt, because again, you don't want to offer something that's dusty or dirty, right? Just like you wouldn't offer a guest, a glass of water with a glass having spots, all that and stuff like that, right? So so they say to do it three times. So, you go again, you can shorten it, lengthen it however you wish, but you go clockwise, then you go counterclockwise, and then you go clockwise again. Okay. The first clockwise, oh God, I can never remember this. The first clockwise is you are purifying it, so that you can attain the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, right? So that's the clockwise. The counterclockwise is that you will never be separated from your gurus and the Buddhas, right? So that's kind of the counterclockwise. And the final clockwise, I will have to look that up. I can't remember now what the final clockwise is. Actually, I have it in this. Offerings, okay. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it says, so wipe the bowls 3 times clockwise. Oh, the clockwise to dispel the negativities created by the body, speech, and mind. Okay, that's the first one. Second one, again, these are all mental visualizations one does, so that we're not doing these things just like, okay, I need to do this, I'm going to do it clockwise, kind of, these are reasons for it. And it's again about our mind being getting to be a particular state so that a meditation session will be really fruitful, right? So the first one is to dispel negativities created by body, speech, and mind. The next one, counterclockwise, is to bring to oneself the blessings of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. That's the one that I kind of made the first. So the second one is to bring to oneself the blessing of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Wipe the water bowls 3 times clockwise to dispel, and 3 times three times clockwise and 3 times counterclockwise. Okay. So those are the 2 steps. And finally, this is Rinpoche's guidance. You pass each bowl over burning incense to purify it. Okay, so I have an incense stick over there and I have a lighter. And so, you use the burning incense. Now, when I first learned this, I didn't have Rinpoche's altar setup and water bowl offerings guidance, right? So I was taught, a different way, right? So sometimes you'll see people doing something different, but there's still meditations that go with it, right? So, but in any case, so I do something different, but Rinpoche's guidance is to do 3 clockwise, 3 counterclockwise, and then finally using an incense stick to purify the offering. Okay. Then what you do is, so once you've done that and you've cleaned everything, so then you're ready to actually make the water bowl offering, right? So the way first rule, and this is close to a cardinal rule. I've never seen anybody not say this, which is that you never have a water bowl that's empty. You never put a water bowl down that's empty, right? Because you're offering something empty to the Buddhas, right? You always want to have something in the water bowl. That's a basic rule. Okay. To that end, the way to do it is you take your water, right? I have a little whatever, and you pour the first water bowl, This is one way to do it. I was taught something differently, but this is what I do now as well. You pour the water, you don't have to pour it all the way to the top, but, relatively full, right? So you pour water in there, and then you take a second water bowl and you pour as much of it as you can with leaving a tiny little water in the original bowl, right? So the first bowl, you had a lot of water in the first bowl. You pour close to everything, except there's a little bit still in here, and you place it on the altar, okay? And you go left to right. So that's my argam, right? My water for drinking, right? So that's the first water bowl. Now you have another water bowl that's close to full. So you take another bowl, you pour as much of it as you can and leave a little bit here, and that you put down as the next one, right? Like that. And then you continue all the way to like this, right? So now you have, well, you can have 8 water bowls. In my case, I have 7, plus I'll have an incense stick here, right? So now you have 7 water bowls that have a tiny little bit of water in them, right? Then what you do is you come back with your pitcher and you fill the rest of up to the top, and I'll tell you how much, but you rest up to the top for all the water bowls. Okay. This way, you're always offering, even when you're putting down a water bowl, there's some offering still in it. Okay. Now, some people have problems, like they may not have these water bowls are kind of traditional water bowls, so they actually have a lip that kind of makes it easy to pour from one to the other. But let's say you have some kind of, in the past, I've used like little sake cups. I had a little altar. I didn't have much space. So I had a little altar and I couldn't have big water bowls. So I had tiny little sake. I went to a Japanese store and I found these nice, had flowers and stuff on them, like nice turquoise color. It was beautiful. So little sake cups, I never used them for sake. I'm just saying. And so I would use those, right? And they weren't easy to pour. So you are allowed to, if you want, to pour one bowl, put it down, pour another bowl, put it down, but only if you must, right? The standard way to do it is to pour like as I said originally, right? How much to put in there, water to put in there? Well, you certainly don't want to put so much water that it spills, right, on your altar. So the standard guidance again is to leave the width of a grain of rice at the top. So you pour just about as much as you can in there without it spilling, and you leave a tiny little bit of room left, right? A grain of rice. Also, how do you arrange them, right? So you of course want to make it look beautiful. So I always try to make sure it's in a straight line. It's not like zigzaggy and whatever. And normally I would have, since I'm trying to show it to you, I have it on this side, but I would have it centered and so forth. You know what I mean? So you kind of make it look like you would like to have it. If somebody were to give you, offerings, and then I would put my incense stick here. What am I missing? Let me see. What is Rinpoche? Oh, yes. What kind of water to offer? So again, if I were like when I was SPC, Advisor Pani, and we had a physical, this was before the COVID days when actually people came to a center, and one of my jobs was to set the water bowls, and we had a big altar, right? Like went all the way around the Gompa, and there were 5 statues with 5 sets of water bowl offerings, right? So you had there was a lot of water bowls. And I would make saffron water. That's what's suggested, is to offer saffron water. And it's easy to make. You know, if you really wanted to do it, you just buy little, you know, you can buy the saffron, not the saffron powder, but the saffron, what do you call it? Flakes, not the flakes. What are they called? They're like little
Saffron threads. They're threads.
Threads, thank you. From the flower, right? They're like the little, I don't know. I never liked biology, so I can't remember what the things are called, you know. But in any case, saffron threads. And you can take you basically take a little bit of water and you put the threads in there and you boil it. And the water turns like this very kind of like dark orangey color, depending on how much water you have in there, but dark orangey color. So you kind of have made a, I don't know, a concentrate, if you will, right? And then you take a big bucket of water and you just pour it in there and you just try to get how yellow should this is a big debate in Tibetan Buddhism. How yellow should the saffron water be, right? So some lamas will say, oh, you know, you make it yellow, you know, like nice golden color, right? So Rinpoche says you make it like champagne. So it's like barely kind of like, you know, yellowish, starting to turn yellow, right? So it's kind of champagne color. You pick. Whatever you think is going to inspire you and make the Buddhas happy, you decide. So in any case, so that's saffron water that they suggest to use. I have to be honest, I have been lazy and I have not used saffron water. I've just used regular drinking water, which is how I already, you know, did it for many years before I went to Vajrapani and stuff. So but I guess I should, but in any case, anyway, that's just my fault. But the recommendation is to use, again, you want to make it as beautiful as possible, right? It's not an ordinary thing you're offering, right? I mean, it's something that's very special. So that's why the saffron water comes into play. So Rinpoche also suggests that as you fill, you know, after you've got a little bit of water in every one of the water bowls, as you're filling it up now to the top, you know, to the grain of rice level, as you're pouring it from the pitcher, you recite Oma Hong as you're filling each bowl, right? And this is in the Lamrim as well, and it says the way you pour the water is that, you know, you start with a little stream as you're pouring from the pitcher, and then it becomes a bigger flow, and then you taper it again at the end when it's almost at the full, right? So this way you have control over how much water you want in there, right? And it also doesn't make a huge splashing noise, especially like, you know, at centers you have these big water bowls and you have to pour a lot of water in them, and if you don't do that, then it just starts splashing and it's just not very nice, you know. So you want to do it like that so it doesn't splash. In small water bowls like this, it's not such a big deal, you know. Also, you know, if you're in a gompa, you know, you're doing it in a, you know, and there are other people meditating and stuff. It's a silent place, right? So you don't want it to make tons of noise as you're making the offerings, right? I mean, so that's all. There's also kind of like those are some of the rationale behind some of these things. Rinpoche says if your bowls are not full enough, your wisdom will be incomplete. Okay, I think I can stop this, whatever it is, the spotlight thing now. But in any case, you know, I don't know how to do that now. How do you unspotlight somebody?
Top right corner or top right corner where it says view, go to gallery.
Oh, top right corner where it says view.
Or what you can do, Shankha.
Yeah.
Go into participants panel.
Yeah.
And go next to your name, and then you'll see the microphone and the camera.
Yeah. Oh, remove spotlight. I see. Thank you. Yes, I got it. Okay. Perfect. So, so Rinpoche says, and this comes from the Lamrim, it's in there as well, that if your bowls are not full enough, your wisdom will be incomplete. And if they're too full, then you create the cause for your wisdom. Wait, if your bowls are not full enough, your wisdom will be incomplete. If they're overfull, you will also create the cause for your wisdom to be incomplete. Oh, I see. There was a mistake here. So if it's not full enough, your wisdom will be incomplete. And if they are too full, you create the cause for your wisdom to be unstable. There you go. It's in the Lamrim. I don't know exactly the origin for some of these things, but I'm sure there was a reason. So yeah. There's no limit on the quantity of either water bowls, flowers, lights, et cetera, that you want to offer. So 7 or 8 is usually the minimum. Yeah, we're going to end soon, Mary. So thank you for coming. See you next time. It's okay. Yeah. So you create, yeah. And the other thing is that spacing the water bowl. There's a guidance on how you space the water bowl. So again, the spacing is that you don't have them like far away, and you don't have them touching either. Okay, you have a grain of rice width in between. That's kind of like, again, how they say. And it also, if you can read the Lamrim, it tells you, what will happen. I know what it is. If it's too far away, then you will have trouble meeting your teacher, meeting your gurus. I think that's what. And if they're too close, I don't know. Your relationship with your guru will degenerate. And actually that makes sense. You know why? There's also another part in the Lamrim where, and actually it's not in the Lamrim. I think some Lama told me. He said the best, how far should you live away from your guru, right? He said it should be a mountain away, because it's not so far that you can't just, it takes you a day on horseback to just get to the, if there's special teaching, you just you just ride your donkey or whatever, and you just, go across the mountain, and you get to go to teaching with, you get to be near your guru. But then also if you're too close, then it, start seeing your guru as an ordinary being, right? If you see him in his daily activity, I mean, that's why attendance, it's a huge responsibility. Now, attendant, you have to have a really special mind to be an attendant of a Lama, because it's very easy if you don't have it for that relationship to degenerate, because, when you see him struggling, or, as he gets older, his body's starting to fail, all that stuff, what I mean? So, I mean, you start seeing him. And, so yeah, it's best to be a mountain away. So there you go. So that's kind of like, you don't want the water bowls that too far, because then you're like 5 mountains away, and you don't want to be too close either, because then you're like, so that's the rationale. There we go. That's it. I now remember. See, there is a reason for all of it. They didn't just make this stuff up, just for like, arbitrarily. Okay. Did there any questions about, there are some more elaborate meditations that you can do as you're pouring out the water bowls and so forth and so on, which I'm not going into, but I think, is it on the website, the altar setup and water bowls? I think I asked Venerable Dondrup to put it on there. Did he put it on there? The PDF, Rinpoche's. In any case, I can send it to you. Maybe I'll just, let's see, I have to find your practices. Prayer books. Oh, come on now. Practices. Offerings. Oh, okay. Altar setup and water bowls. Okay, so if I just think I just drag it. Oh, but it disappeared. Where'd it go? My Zoom. Oh my God. I moved away and my Zoom. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
I can't find my Zoom window. Okay, maybe this is a good place to stop because I'll just ask Venerable Dondra to put it on the website, the altar setup and water making offerings bit. So okay, so maybe we'll stop here for today. Let's just do our dedications. By the way, did you have any questions? Let me before we finish about making water bowl offerings. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
The question I was going to ask was when you were talking about counterclockwise and clockwise wiping, where you got that information. I gather that'll be in what you send us.
Yeah, that is in what I'm going to send you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and so yeah, and I will ask. What I'll do is, since I can't find the Zoom window, I was going to put it in the chat box, but since I can't find the Zoom window, I will I will ask Venerable Dondrup to just put it on the website, and that way you can get it. Okay. It's also in the Lam Rim, so if you want to find it, you can find it there as well. Anything else? Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Then let's do a dedication that with our hopefully better understanding of how to make offerings and the Guru Yoga practices, that it will inspire us to do them, that we will do them faultlessly, that we will do them well with the correct motivation, and that our minds, that will transform our minds quickly in this life, if not in the next, but very, very quickly, so that we can be of benefit to all beings. So, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.